Richard Hunt,
Here.
Tom Molson,
Here.
Laura Nickerson,
Here.
Eric Rivera Montez,
Here.
Mark White,
Here.
Shelby Witherby.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you. We usually go through, Alicia, and just have each of our members give you about a 2 or 3 sentence description of what they did in their professional life or what they're doing today. So why don't we start with Richard and walk through that process?
Thanks, Mark. I'm appointed by the Sacramento County to be representative on the commission, and I have over 35 years of consulting experience in environmental compliance.
And Shelby, you're next.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for joining us tonight, Alicia. My name is Shelby Witherby, and I am a water resource control engineer for the State Water Resources Control Board, specifically looking into water rights and yeah.
Okay, thank you. Before we go on, Kelly, I just wanted to mention to you that we normally go around the room, which the room is now on my screen, so nobody else knows what I'm going to say next. But we just introduce ourselves for a moment. We just started the meeting, and we'll just continue as soon as we're done with. And Laura, have you spoken yet?
No, thank you.
Okay.
My name is Laura Nickerson. I'm a Sacramento County appointee. I'm a currently working registered nurse, and I also do wildlife rescue and home rehab. Thank you for
Eric?
coming.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, clearly, I can.
Okay. Still sorry, having video issues, but I'm Eric Rivera Montez. I'm an appointee of the City of Elk Grove, and I'm currently working for SMUD, focusing on climate change and greenhouse gas reporting.
Thank you. And Tom?
I'm Tom Molson. I represent the cities of Folsom, Alton, and Galt, and I'm a retired aerojet engineer.
Thank you. I'm Mark White. I was a garbage consultant for a long time. Still have an interest in that area. I'm a generator's why. So Alicia is our first speaker. Oh, excuse me. We do have another item on, and that's public comments. Do we have any public with us that have comments? Oh, and we also have another important person here. Marie, please tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, Alicia. You remember me? I'm still here. I'm Marie Wooden, Director for the Environmental Management Department, and also participate as staff to the commissioners if needed.
And of course, we have Jill, who does everything else, which is a lot. Jill is the Commissioner's Secretary. First speaker tonight is Alicia Wenzel with the Central Valley Regional Board, telling us about Lower American River water quality. Specifically, I think E. coli is one question.
Yeah.
So the floor is yours.
So, Bill, can you help me?
Toggle your mouse and you should see a share screen icon at the bottom of your screen.
There it is. Thank you. So I've been resisting this whole work from home thing, which is why I have the funny video. I have to use different devices for video and presenting. But
Wonderful. We have your screen.
And you saw get a little preview of what's to come. So my name is Alicia Wenzel. I work at the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board, where I'm very fortunate to be the regional coordinator for the Surface Water Ambient Monitoring Program, or SWAMP, a lot easier to say. And so I think Jill asked me just to kind of give a little bit of an overview about our program. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'll dive into the Lower American River monitoring, because I know that's what most people really care about and want to hear. Sounds like you probably are all fairly familiar with the state and regional water boards. So the Central Valley is number 5 on this map, so about 40% of the state. We include Sacramento watershed, San Joaquin watershed, and Tulare Lake basins, about 40% of the state. So a lot of diverse water quality issues, backgrounds. SWAMP is I think, unique within the water boards in that we're not specifically a regulatory program. It was initially created probably about 20 years ago, kind of in recognition that most of the monitoring data that the water board sees is in areas that are known or suspected problem areas. And so there was kind of this need in California for more background monitoring or ambient monitoring. So we're tasked with assessing water quality in all of California's surface waters. As I'm sure you're familiar with all of our programs, of course, we don't have enough resources to monitor everything. So we try to leverage our resources as much as possible by collaborating with other programs and agencies. So we monitor directly and through those partnerships. It's all designed to support water resource management in California. So there are both a number of statewide monitoring programs and then regional monitoring programs in each of those 9 regional water boards. We have some really great statewide programs that I just wanted to touch on, and if you're looking for data and information. So first is our bioaccumulation program. So that's really looking at contaminants in fish and how those impact safety for people that are consuming those fish. Second is our bioassessment program. And so that's where they actually go out and monitor bugs and algae to look at how water quality is impacting those ecosystems. We also have a stream pollution trends program. So that's looking at contaminants and toxicity in sites throughout the state that are monitored every year. And then our most recent program is the freshwater harmful algal bloom program, or HABs. We really like our acronyms, which I'm sure you've all have heard about. So I think that was kind of developed in response to the increasing number of HABs that we see throughout the state. And so kind of developing a system to monitor and respond to some of those blooms. And just in 2020, we did get additional staff positions and money. So those people are just coming on board, and less than a month ago. So we do have a new HAB coordinator for the Central Valley region. I don't even know if our website's been updated, but so hopefully we'll be able to do a lot more with that in the near future. If you want to find the data, a great place to go look is the California Water Quality Monitoring Council's My Water Quality portals. So SWAMP is very active in the work groups that have developed those portals, and a lot of our data is used in developing the tools. So I'll highlight a couple of these particular harmful algal blooms. So if you want to see where blooms are occurring and what information we have, you can find that. As well as like the safe to eat data. There's also portals, a couple different portals on kind of healthy watersheds, so rivers and streams data, and where to find more data. There is also a safe to swim portal. It's a little bit out of date, but can be a good resource. So that HABs portal I mentioned, I know what a lot of people are interested in is the incident reports maps. So every HAB report that we receive goes onto this map, and you can see the different colors are the advisory levels based on the testing or the information we have. There are a handful of blooms going on in the city of Sacramento right now. Kind of looked through, it looks like they're mostly ponds and city parks. And you'll also notice a couple of our ongoing hotspots down in the Delta, like around Stockton, and of course, Clear Lake. Lots of blooms. Some other resources that are on that portal, one that I really wanted to highlight is there's a form to report a bloom. So we strongly encourage anyone that if you see something that you think is suspicious or worrisome, to go and fill that out, and that'll make sure that that report goes to the right people and you get a quick response. There are also contacts and guidance that was developed by OEHA, the Office of Environmental Health Hazards Assessments. Sorry, I can always trip myself up on that, as well as the State Public Health Department. And I also included there's also a lot of field resources that have been developed by SWAMP. So as an example, I included a couple of pictures. It can be challenging to figure out what is a harmful algal bloom out in the field. So on the left is just regular green algae that we see at a lot of places, might be a nuisance, but generally not a big concern. And then on the right is a cyanobacteria bloom, so microcystis, which we see throughout a lot of the state and our region, which would be much more worrisome and potentially toxins producing. So the other portal I just wanted to highlight is, again, that Safe to Eat portal. So that's where you can go. It'll link you to all of the fish consumption advisories throughout the state. There's a number of those in Sacramento County. And our Mercury program, I know, has been working with some of the local agencies to get signs up to improve awareness of that information out there. And then if you're really interested, there's also interactive maps and resources so you can really dive into the data that's available for individual fish monitoring out there. And there's quite a bit of data around Sacramento. Then, as promised, I really want to focus on some of the work that we're doing in the Central Valley on recreation and the Lower American River. So we kind of recognized early on in our region that recreation monitoring was an information gap out there. There is no statewide program that's doing it. And so we just didn't have a lot of information on what conditions were. So back in 2007, we started a program to kind of get out to as many different swimming areas as possible and see what was happening there. Our initial sampling was primarily during the summer months when people are out recreating. And it's a program that has really evolved and expanded over time to focus on areas like the Lower American River, where we see elevated bacteria levels. So it's touching on how we assess recreational uses. Might be familiar to a lot of you. So what we're really concerned about is fecal contamination and potential pathogens that are introduced into the water bodies from that. So that can be bacteria, viruses, protozoa, and just due to the available methods and the cost, it's not practical to monitor for each of those individual pathogens. So what we use are fecal indicator bacteria. They kind of tell us that there's fecal pollution, and those have been shown to correlate with illness rates in monitoring studies that have been done. So E. coli is the indicator we use for freshwater. So we're monitoring general E. coli, which is mostly harmless. I know a lot of, in the news, you often hear about the E. coli outbreaks, but that's very specific strains of E. coli that can produce toxins, and that's not, we're not targeting that type. But it's just a good indicator. It's found in all the feces of all warm-blooded animals, so it lets us know what kind of contamination is out there. And I won't get too technical on you for you unless you have questions. But the State Water Board did adopt bacterial water quality objectives a couple years ago. So these are what we're using to assess the data. So if you probably mentions, like the 100 and 320, that's what those are. Those are the objectives that we use to kind of determine whether it's meeting our state objectives. And those are based on US EPA's recommended guidelines, and that were based on a number of recreation studies, primarily in the Great Lakes area. Okay, the American River. So this, we've done a lot of monitoring here for a number of reasons. And of course, it's very popular recreation river. It's right in our backyard, which is really nice. And even going back to 2007, we noticed that there were high bacteria levels at some of the sites. So when we first started monitoring here, we were really kind of looking at just a couple sites, Discovery Park and the Sunrise, kind of either end of this reach. But over the years, we've added more and more sites to kind of better document what conditions are and understand what conditions are throughout the river. So we see here about a dozen or so sites that we have monitored. Most of these are swimming areas or public access points, since we want to know what people are being exposed to when they go out in the river. And so what we found, so a lot of, like I said, we wanted to figure out where the problem areas are. And what we found, for the most part, is that things get worse closer to the confluence of the downstream end. And unfortunately, that's also where there's a lot of the recreation that occurs around Discovery Park and Tiscornia Beach. So this is data that we collected in 2015 and 2016 as an example. But you can see that at Howe, none of our samples exceeded our bacteria objectives, where when you get down to the Discornia area, almost all of our samples were exceeding that objective. So that's worrisome. And so we really wanted to go out and figure out what's causing this problem. So starting a few years ago, we started an effort to collaborate with some of the potential responsible agencies to develop a source tracking study to figure out where this bacteria contamination is coming from. So we're working with the Sacramento Stormwater Quality Partnership, the Sacramento Region Sanitation District, and the Sacramento County Parks to fund and develop this study. We were able to get a grant in order to get some experts from San Francisco Estuaries Institute and Southern California Coastal Water Research Project, who have done a lot of the method development on this type of work in the past. And so they kind of developed a monitoring framework for us. And we also had a series of stakeholder meetings to kind of get input on our approach. And hopefully some of you attended those meetings back in 2018. So one of the first steps, of course, is to look at what are our potential sources. So those include things like stormwater system, sanitary sewer overflows, broken or leaking sewer lines, direct human inputs. So that can be recreational use or, of course, the camping along the river. We're also concerned about some of the domestic animals like dogs that people take down to the river. And then, of course, wildlife, and in particular geese, and also gulls at some of the sites. We're just from our observations, there's a lot of goose poop out there along the river. So what working with those experts in our monitoring framework, we came up with a phased approach to this study, just because of available funding and the logistics of getting out to the river and how much you can handle. So our initial focus is on dry weather conditions, since that is when most people are out using the river. And it's also actually when we see the most consistent elevated bacteria levels, unlike a lot of other recreation studies that I've seen from like coastal regions or other places. So dry weather, and then we divided our reach up into our study reach into two phases. So our first phase was the upstream phase. It's about a 3-mile stretch from Paradise Beach down to Sutter's Landing Regional Park. And that was monitoring that was completed in 2019 and 2020. I'll be showing you those results. And then just this month, we started phase 2 of the study, which is monitoring from Sutter's Landing down to the confluence. So these are our monitoring sites for that phase 1, the first part of the study. So what we wanted to do, so when we're doing recreation monitoring, we typically go out and collect samples. The guidance is for ankle to knee depth water. And that's so we're getting kind of the worst case scenario, or what small children would be exposed to along the river. But kind of from the limited data we had available, our hypothesis was that if you look out in the middle of the river, generally we see much lower E. coli levels where the water is well mixed. So we wanted to have sites on either bank of the river to kind of see how those vary, and then in the middle of the channel as well. And we also want to look at potential sources. So the green circles are monitoring sites. And these orange and red symbols, those are where there's stormwater or urban runoff inputs to the river. I'm sure you guys all know this reach of the river is between levees. So you don't have, you don't have, there's limited access to the river as far as these inputs. So what we have are stormwater sumps that collect that water and then pump it over the levees when the sump gets full. This reach had quite a few different sumps and urban runoff locations. We found a number of them don't actually flow or don't reach the river during the summer. So the two on the north bank here, sump 151 and 152, The sumps do turn on, but most of the water collects in these ponds you can sort of see on the satellite image, and they don't actually get into the river during dry weather, at least during our study period. And likewise, in Sutter's Landing Regional Park, there are some outfalls just for that park area. But again, those don't flow during dry weather when there's without rain. So that left us with 2 sumps on the south bank. And then this is the one gravity outfall in this reach. The stormwater folks refer to it as D5, so it collects water from the Strong Ranch and Chicken Ranch slough areas. And so we did include monitoring of that D5 outfall as well as one of the sumps to kind of show what those sites looked like. So our sampling framework, our goal was to get to 30 dry season sampling events in order to make sure we had a robust data set. During each of those events, we went out and collected E. coli at each of our sites, as well as samples for bacterial DNA source markers. And so that's what we're using to kind of look at what sources are contributing to the high E. coli levels. So each marker, there's been a lot of research and work done, kind of develop markers to identify what type of source it's coming from. So you can identify human, dogs, and birds are the ones that we're really interested in. So each week we would collect the sample for those DNA markers. We're able to filter it and freeze the filter, and then select which filters to analyze based on the E. coli results that we got. So that way we are focusing our resources and our funding on the high E. coli samples. Looking at the actual results, so starting with the E. coli, it's actually generally good news for this reach of the river. Most of our sites tended to meet the bacteria objectives. We didn't have a lot of data throughout this reach before this, so I said that was really good news. We did find pretty consistently elevated bacteria in our urban runoff, but that didn't necessarily translate into the river samples. It can be hard to tell, but you can see here in this table, I have just some simple summary results for our site. So the top table is kind of organized from the upstream end of the study reach to the downstream end, with our river monitoring results in the bluish color and the urban runoff locations in green. And so you can see the median E. coli tends to be well below our water quality objective of 100. The one exception is the right bank at Sutter's Landing. And I'll show you some of the DNA results in a moment, but our hypothesis is it seems to be linked to a lot of birds that like to hang out in that reach of the river, since there's not a lot else that's going on there. Yeah, again, you can see the high levels in the urban runoff. For the D5, I mean, there is a slight increase in the river upstream and downstream of that site, but we're still well below the objective. And on the left bank or the south bank of the river, we actually saw a decrease moving downstream, which is interesting. So DNA results. So because of the relatively low E. coli numbers, we ended up analyzing about a quarter of the total samples that we collected. And again, this is pretty good news as far as the river, in that the biggest source that we see is birds out there in the river. I say that's good news, just in general, humans are much more likely to get us sick and to have pathogens. There's kind of lower risk. That does not mean there's no risk, but I think we're all happier about seeing bird contamination in the river than human contamination. So our strongest signal is birds. We did see somewhat of a dog signal in the 2 different colors here. The lighter green color, and what that is where we detected the marker, but it was at a low enough level that we can't quantify how much was in the sample. So we can say that it's present, but we don't really know how much. So it's just a handful of samples that were quantifiable there, and just a handful of human detections that were all below that quantification limit. And interestingly, the results for the urban runoff were actually pretty similar. In this case, we analyzed a much higher percentage of the samples because that was higher bacteria. But again, the dominant source was birds, a bit stronger of a dog signal, and that's mostly from that D5 site. And a bit more human, but still only a handful of quantifiable samples that we saw. So, I said, good news. Looking just a little bit closer, the big thing that stands out here, so again, these sites are organized. So we have the upstream end of our study reach at the top, and then moving downstream. And most of this white space is all where, we had low E. coli and we didn't analyze samples. So, a lot of these we only have, there's a limited number of samples that we analyzed at each site. The white bar on the graph, that's the bird marker, the avian marker. You can see that is the biggest bar for most sites. The one exception is the downstream end of Paradise Beach, and that's the one site where we did see a stronger dog signal than bird signal, which makes sense given some of the use that happens there. And that Sutter's Landing site where we saw the high bacteria, very strong bird signal there. So, we're still kind of, digging through the data. Like I said, I mostly see this as pretty good news for a river. We're excited to see that, this approach seems to be using the DNA markers, and we're really excited for phase 2. So again, that's moving downstream from Sutter's Landing. It's another about 3-mile stretch of river down to the confluence. So these are the sites that we've selected for that. Very similar approach to what we did in phase 1, where we've paired sites on the north or left bank, which I should have mentioned. That's kind of, I don't know, hydrology speak. So the left bank is the south shore, the right bank is the north shore. Kind of do that while looking downstream. And then we've included a couple extra sites on that south shore for a couple reasons. One is the large number of encampments that are on the south shore that I know of a lot of interest to the public and some of the citizens groups that we've interacted with. And then also down in the Discovery Park area, since we know there's these large increases in a short amount of time, we want to look more closely at what's happening there to cause those increases. In this reach, there's a single stormwater sump. So we are including that in the study to see what's happening. And like I mentioned, so we just started monitoring at the start of July. So this will be our 3rd week of monitoring. Typically, we'll probably wait a month or 2 before we kind of review our E. coli results and select which samples will get submitted for DNA analysis. But hopefully we'll have that data starting to come in this fall and this winter so we can review it and plan forward. Again, our plan is to get to 30 samples. We'll get not quite halfway there this summer, so we will have to continue the monitoring next summer in 2020 in order to complete the study. But of course, if there's any really significant information that we see, we'll of course take action on it as soon as we have that information available. I also wanted to highlight, I know this is something that Maria and I have talked a lot about and struggled with. So just thinking about recreation monitoring, there is no statewide monitoring. There's no funding for it. There's also no guidance or funding for posting these areas where we do find problems, which is something we've struggled with. So I do have a picture here is a sign that Sacramento County Parks has put up at some of the sites. And I think Marie, as well as the County Public Health, helped develop the language for that to help educate the public. And then at the Central Valley Water Board, we really feel it's our duty to do our best to make the information available. So what we've done is created this interactive map that's online, so people can go and view our results every week. Hopefully you've all seen it. So this is our results from last week. Just kind of show where sites are not meeting those objectives. By clicking on a site, you can see this week's results, as well as the results from the last few weeks, so kind of how that site's been doing. And then there at the bottom, there's also links. You can get to a spreadsheet with all of our monitoring, as well as a link to the bacteria objectives if you want to learn more about those. So we are pretty consistently, we're out there monitoring every week, and we're able to post the results in 24 to 48 hours typically, get those up there so people can kind of look at what the conditions are before they go out to the river. And I don't know if you guys have this yet, so there is the link there directly to the map. You can also find the link on our Central Valley Swamp website. It's also posted, the county parks has it as part of their American River Parkway page. There's some information on E. coli and the monitoring there. If you want to download all the data, so we make that available through CEDN, the California Environmental Data Exchange Network. And it's also available on the My Water Quality Safe to Swim portal. So there's an interactive map where you can see data throughout the state. For most of that data, there's a bit of a time lag. There's just some caution there. Although our American River data does directly link to that map. So you can see it there as well. And it's kind of neat to see it in context. There's a neat, I should have included it here, a neat interactive map where you can see a graph over time of the results, kind of see how that changes. And that's all I have. Are there any questions?
Well, that's a lot. Thank you very much. And do we have any questions for Alicia?
Yeah, I have a question. Alicia, do the levels of E. coli that you found up at Sutter Landing Park and the other location, I think it was D5, do they explain the concentrations that we're finding further downriver in Discovery Park?
So I think we'll want to see, see more of the data from the second phase of the study, but definitely not like D5. There's sites in between that are lower, have low E. coli. So I don't think we can link that with what's downstream. There is some questions that you're trying to figure out the river mixing problem. Since we are typically monitoring right along the shoreline, there is a question, and we've tried to do some modeling kind of how far downstream, if you have a sump or an outfall that's right, near the shore, that effluent, that water is going to hug the shore. And we think it could, stay there, maybe a mile before it gets fully mixed into the river. But so far we haven't seen like a direct pattern where we can just follow it upstream and find a nice identifiable source. If you really dive into the data and weekly data, there's a lot of variability out there.
So then should we assume at this point that there are other sources downriver that you have not yet measured?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think, so we definitely have, there's the upstream end where we see it almost always meets the objectives. Then there's kind of some of those sites in the middle where it's more variable. But then downstream, in order to explain just how frequently we see the really high numbers down near the confluence of the river, we need to find more. There's clearly a more source out there.
Okay. If it does turn out that the birds are the primary source, what does that mean in terms of management options for protecting public health for recreational use? does it limit our options, or is there any things that open up here for us to think about?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, which we've kind of talked about. That's clearly, the water board, we don't do a lot of regulating the birds, but so I know there are some examples in other areas where they've done things to kind of try to manage the birds and where they hang out. The other thing that could be done is there are studies where you can do, we don't really know the risk associated with our local bird population. So you can go out, you actually collect their feces and do a bunch of analysis to figure out what's the risk associated, locally with that bird. And so, do we see pathogens there, and kind of better understand what that risk level is. But yeah, we'd probably want to look at, some of the different populations, the gulls, the geese, some of that. I should, I am not a microbiologist, so that's, I've been learning a lot about this, but that's something we'll definitely have to explore more.
So there's a lot more questions that kind of open themselves up if it does turn out to be birds as the primary source.
Yeah.
In terms of species and management responsibility and things like that.
Yeah. Now, if you really dive into the studies that were used to support the water quality objectives, they do kind of assume that humans are one of the primary sources, which is kind of interesting. I mean, I think a lot of that work was done in like the Great Lakes I mentioned, where you do have regular inputs of, raw sewage just because of the way their systems are set up. And fortunately, we don't see that as much out here in California. But I think, so there are some questions on, how those numbers could be adapted to apply here. But we just don't have a lot of data because there is no big program collecting that information. So,
Richard, this is Marie. I'd like to comment on your question. When this first came up and the Regional Water Board was investigating the lower, and you remember all this, and how it ended up in the media, etc. There have not been reports of people being sick from swimming in the American River. The health officer would let us know if there was anything, but we haven't received any type of reports since the study's been going on. There's been some potential HAB investigations, but that's all I know of.
And Marie,
Thank
can
you.
you help? My understanding on that is that they would only get a notification if someone was like hospitalized or really sick, where
they report it to their doctor, but we haven't received anything like that. And I think when this first came to the media's attention, there was some potential complaints, but everything that was investigated by the health officer turned out to be nothing.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it can be really hard to track without, unless there's an outbreak.
Yeah, one person, I think a family that said they were sick from the river, when they were trying to interview them, they would not cooperate. So that was the one complaint that she did get when it was all in the media. Alicia, I have a question for you. Do you know what bird species it is? Is it geese, or you just know it's avian and that's it?
So for the marker, we just know that it's avian. We do collect, during each of our field events, we kind of document what we see out there. And so I can say that geese are the most common for most of the river reach. The exception is gulls at Tiscornia Beach. At certain times of the year, they really like that spot. So,
any other questions?
My last question. One more question, Mark, please. In regards to the component that's contributed by animals, I think you mentioned dogs. Is it possible that other sources like the Cal Expo Fairgrounds, where there's a lot of horse activity, could be associated with any of this?
Yeah, so we did look into that. So what what we discovered, so all of Cal Expo, and they collect all of their water during dry season. So everything goes into an on-site lake. So nothing should leave the site. If it does leave the site, it goes into one of those stormwater sumps that we showed, our monitoring showed didn't reach the river during the summer. So we don't see that as being, at least during the dry season, a source.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for
I
your
had a couple
presentation.
questions. Does anybody else have any questions? I'll kick mine off then. Have you noticed any difference during the period, the recent period, with such extreme low flows in the American River?
I don't know that I don't know that we have. I mean, we'd have to go, I could go back and look at the data. I mean, we've had so many drought years recently. And I will say, so with our monitoring, and maybe we should change this at some point, we can only detect up to we can only quantify it up to a certain point with the method. So we can get up to 2419.6. So if you notice that that result shows up frequently, that's because that's the maximum amount we can quantify. And I know like Tiscornia Beach the last couple of weeks has been above that maximum level. So that's one complication. But just generally down there, it's pretty much just elevated all the time during the summer. So I don't know that the drought is really having an effect.
And last question is, do you guys have links into more grants to continue this work?
So we do have funding commitments at least through this year. And yes, so those partner agencies I mentioned are working with us to fund the study. And then our swamp team is contributing kind of in-kind services. So we're doing all the lab analysis and the data management. But,
thank you.
My board is committed that we will complete this study.
Good. Those of us that live in the river are happy to hear that. Are there any other questions or comments?
I have one more question. Alicia, I don't know, sorry, Alicia. I don't know if your study is going to impact, I remember the river category. I can't remember exactly what the water board did, or maybe the regional water quality control board did. But I remember, I think your boss, there was a different category that they put the American River in, or they added E. coli as part of the D list. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I don't remember all the terminology.
Yeah.
So if your study shows it's just avian, does that E. coli come off that list? Or I'm not really sure what the impact would be.
I think that's something we'd have to explore. That's kind of outside my area of expertise. There's some other programs that really focus on that. So yeah, so the whole reach of the American River and what we call the lower American River, so that's from Nimbus Dam down to the confluence, is listed as impaired for indicator bacteria right now. Mm-hmm. Based on our data, we think that, the impairment is probably more localized down to the lower reach of the river. And there are, if you really get technical and read through the bacteria objectives, I mean, there are pathways for like natural source exceptions. But I think because of the public health issue, that we really have to have a lot of data to support it not being a health hazard.
Okay.
But that would be up to my board to decide how to address that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a very interesting presentation, and I know, as I said, we're all interested in this. Our next speaker, Kelly Hopkins, has also got water on her mind. Kelly, can you go ahead and begin your presentation, please?
I will. Before moving on, I did want to mention, and it's not incorporated into my presentation, but because it was in Alicia's, Sac Valley Conservancy does manage Camp Pollock, which is one of the sites on the river. So I'm excited to have them come by and take samples from our site, and look forward to seeing that data. So let me see if I can figure this out. Okay, now bear with me. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Awesome. And do you see my notes?
Yes.
The speaker. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Okay. So my name is Kelly Hopkins. I am the Executive Director for the Sacramento Valley Conservancy. And Sac Valley Conservancy's mission is to preserve the beauty, character, and biodiversity of the Sacramento Valley landscape by protecting and stewarding natural and working lands and scenic open spaces for the benefit of current and future generations. I wasn't sure how familiar you all were with the Conservancy, so I put together a very brief history. So our founding members were concerned citizens who participated in an open space planning task force convened by Sac County in the late 1980s. We were formed as a 501c3 nonprofit. This is a private, non-governmental public benefit organization. We were first officially accredited by the Land Trust Accreditation Commission in 2009, reaccredited in 2014, and most recently awarded renewal of accreditation again in 2019. And through the process of the Land Trust accreditation, a land trust must demonstrate their commitment to sound finances, ethical conduct, responsible governance, and lasting stewardship. When we protect open space, we do it in perpetuity. So it is a commitment that far exceeds our lifetime. So what does STC do? As an accredited land trust, our vision is to create a network of permanently protected, natural, and working landscapes in the Sacramento Valley. Sac Conservancy does work, when agriculture is compatible with the conservation purpose of the land, SVC will work cooperatively with farmers and ranchers. And in many cases, we're using grazing as a land management tool. Cattle are known for making pretty fun trail systems. So when compatible with conservation and ag operations, SVC will incorporate limited recreation. A good example of this is at Deer Creek Hills, where we actually have mountain bikers riding there tonight. So some stats about the Conservancy. We're currently involved in the protection of over 16,500 acres. This is in Sacramento and neighboring counties. In the early history of the Conservancy, we were much more transactional and not holding on to the land that we had protected, working cooperatively with the county and other nonprofits. There were properties that were not kept on. And so to date, we've protected more than like 18,000 acres, but currently overseeing the protection of 16,500. Of that, we hold 33 conservation easements. We are preserve managers of over 11 properties, which includes the property Camp Pollock, which was shown on that map earlier. We hold now actually 6 fee titled properties. I apologize. We did just close the property on June 30th. And then there's some additional stats on acreage for each of the projects that we're involved with. And a lot of these are combined, so. So this is our 21st century vision map. And while it is outdated, the important piece here is that what's shown in yellow is our high priority area. So all of the yellow shaded areas from the Sutter Buttes, you can see all the way down to the Delta, and from the foothills in both El Dorado County, Amador County, all the way to Yolo County. Everything that's in yellow is an area that's been prioritized as our service area. So part of our focus is to protect habitat, and with that, we protect vernal pools and upland habitat. You'll see here, I don't see the picture. Oh, there we go. There's some fairy shrimp, California tiger salamander. Where is he? Western spadefoot toad. These are protected species. And the burrowing owl, one of my favorite, very cute. As well as riparian and associated habitat, which includes Swainson hawk easements, Valley elderberry longhorn beetle habitat, yellow-billed cuckoo, and then specific to the Cosumnes River watershed, properties that have high recharge potential, as well as flood setback areas along the Sacramento and Feather Rivers specifically. We are working on a number of flood setback projects, and those are also all partner projects, but they are throughout Sacramento, Yolo, Fetter, Butte, and Yuba counties. And then there's the beautiful Swainson hawk. That's a Valley elderberry longhorn beetle. And then we also work to protect oak woodland and rangeland, specifically Deer Creek Hills Preserve and other groves in California Central Valley are North America's last remaining old growth forest. So this is a map of blue oak woodlands, savanna and woodlands throughout California. And we borrowed this map from Sierra Foothill Research and Extension Center, which is northeast of us. But you'll see the map on the right side of the screen shows Deer Creek Hills Preserve, which is a 4,600 acre oak woodland preserve in East County, just behind the community of Rancho Marietta. The proposed expansion there has already been protected, as well as some areas in between that triangular area. However, the important piece here is that we do have have identified that this is a priority area, oak woodlands specifically, and we're focusing our conservation efforts there. So the yellow shaded area between the Folsom Sphere of Influence and Deer Creek Hills Preserve specifically is a goal for us to protect as a wildlife corridor and eventually add an unpaved trail linking Deer Creek Hills Preserve to the American River Parkway. And really it's not a matter of if, but when. And as you all know, that the area of Folsom and Rancho Cordova are expanding at a faster pace. So, and then if you're familiar with the South Sac Habitat Conservation Plan, Sac Valley Conservancy is incorporating all of the South Sac HCP into our acquisition priority areas, specifically Appendix J goals, which are referenced in the Habitat Conservation Plan for above and beyond remedial habitat acquisition. So there are some opportunities to add some acquisition that isn't tied directly to mitigation projects that the Habitat Conservation Plan specifically references. So this is taking a look at the SPVPP, which is the Sacramento Prairie Vernal Pool Preserve, and more into the Southeast County. So you'll notice Deer Creek Hills Preserve there is that large darker green area on the top right. And see if I can, here we go, right there. And the Sacramento Prairie Vernal Pool Preserve is really this large area here, which protects vernal pools, which also protect, those preserves specifically protect endemic species that are found in our vernal pools. One of our more recent acquisition projects, the one that closed at the end of June, was the Cook Preserve. This is a 163 acre vernal pool preserve, which is located just off of Jackson Highway, or just south of Jackson Highway. Sac Valley Conservancy holds the fee title, and Wildlife Heritage Foundation holds the conservation easement on that project. And then the Rio de Oro project, which if you've heard in the news recently, there is a major development project happening in the Rancho Cordova area. And the Rio de Oro project is a 520 plus acre wetland and Valley elderberry longhorn beetle preserve. And due diligence on that project is ongoing, but is scheduled to close by the end of summer of 2021. And SVC will serve in the role as both the preserve manager as well as hold the conservation easement. So that's the Rio de Oro project. And then Sherbakoff is another kind of interesting project that I'll point out. This is a more recent acquisition project. Officially, the conservation easement was recorded back in 2018. That's a Swainson Hawk conservation easement. But this is a multi-benefit, multi-partner project in which SAFCA, which is the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency, took fee title of that property, and they do have plans to do some groundwater recharge on that property now that they hold it in fee title. So kind of exciting project there, and you'll see that that Sherbakoff property, the dark green one here, is located right on the Cosumnes River. So we'll have direct access to the river. And then moving along to the Cosumnes River area, this really is focusing on the lower Cosumnes watershed. But Sac Valley Conservancy received a grant, a 2-year grant cycle from Resource Legacy Fund for specifically to fund an acquisition position focused on the Cosumnes watershed. So in the last 2 years, that was granted in April of 2019. And then the last 2 years, we've really been focusing on landowner outreach in this area specifically to not only teach landowners about conservation opportunities that are available to them, but also introduce them to Sac Valley Conservancy and other partners that we're working with to both identify funding sources to record conservation easements and or fallow lands that are currently irrigated crop and take them to non-irrigated crop, as well as record conservation easements on them. So they're kind of complex projects and sometimes take many years. But there's a lot of potential specifically in the Cosumnes to do groundwater recharge projects. And for Sac Valley Conservancy, we've kind of identified that the first step is to add a conservation easement and protect that habitat, protect that property, which gives the landowner, may give the landowner some potential tax savings. And then opens the door for us to have conversations about other opportunities, which would then include groundwater recharge projects, doing seasonal flooding on their parcel. The other projects that are shown here in dark green are some additional projects that we're working on with, again, SAFCA, Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency, specifically Beach and Stone Lakes, which will add an additional 35 acres of yellow-billed cuckoo and Valley elderberry longhorn beetle habitat. If you have questions about our priority area, there is some, particularly with projects where we're still working on the due diligence and there are private landowners involved, we are very careful to not share more information than the landowner is wanting us to share publicly. So you can find more information on our website about specific projects that have closed. But a lot of our projects that are still in due diligence phase and still in the works aren't necessarily going to be shared. So while we are working on lots of things behind the scenes, I can't share everything, so unfortunately. In addition to our acquisition efforts and conservation efforts, we have a very robust docent program and public education program. These are many of our docents on guided outings or events. And we have more than 70 docents, and we have a youth education program that in a typical year will bring more than 3,000 children out to Deer Creek Hills and Camp Pollock. So that about wraps it up. Are there any questions?
Does anybody have anything? Any questions? I've got a couple if nobody else does, but I can't believe I'm alone.
I do, Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew you would. Hey, Laura.
Actually, I've been to the Deer Valley thing and hiked around. But what my question is Camp Pollock and the Deer Creek Valley thing, are those the only things that are open to the public?
Yeah. Yes and no. So where we have the management role, those are the two properties that are currently open to the public. Because of the sensitive nature of other like critical habitat that we've protected, not all of our preserves are open to the public, even if we hold them in fee title. We do offer docent guided outings at some of those properties, but they are fewer and far between because it is sensitive and critical habitat. And so they must be guided tours. We do also hold conservation easements and some of the preserve management role at around the Howard Ranch Trail, which actually goes around Smuds Preserve at Rancho Seco. So that is another property that can be visited. And then we also hold quite a few conservation easements in partnership with the county in the Dry Creek Parkway area. So while we do really highlight Camp Pollock and Deer Creek Hills, because those properties we are the preserve managers for and offer either activities or educational outings. For the most part, we don't offer outings at our other properties.
Okay, and it also looked to me like people had to pre-sign up, and it was not just a free for all, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
With COVID-19, we did have to change things quite a bit. We do require pre-registration, and we tried to go to a paperless registration that also limited the amount of cash that was exchanged at those events. While there are 4,600 acres at Deer Creek Hills Preserve and a very low chance that we get inundated, I'm presenting. Please go talk to Daddy. We do need to limit registration for that property.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, all right, thank you.
Anybody else have questions? It sounds, Kelly, like there's somebody at your end that has questions, but maybe not right now.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay, good, Tom.
Yeah.
Do you interact with the Cosumnes Preserve, the lower Cosumnes area?
We do, yeah. We actually hold conservation easement in partnership with quite a few. There are a few conservation easements that we hold around the Cosumnes River Preserve, but we are members of the Cosumnes Partnership as well as the Cosumnes Coalition, which are two working groups that help to protect land and manage the Cosumnes River Preserve.
Yeah, I've dealt a lot. I live down that area, so I know most of those people.
It's a great site, beautiful.
Yeah, one thing that I did learn the hard way when we were looking at City of Galt, when I was on the council, annexing north of Galt. The group at that time was against it, and all of a sudden they said, "No, you can have it if you want it." And that's when I said, "Uh-oh." So I immediately grabbed the FEMA flood maps. And if you overlay the FEMA flood maps in that area, that kind of stops a lot of that northern expansion, unless you want to build houses in a flood zone, which no city was going to take that responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting with our changing climate to see how how we prioritize land conservation in and around the Cosumnes based on high flow years and drought years. So. Yeah,
because it's the last river in California that's just free flow. It's not really, hasn't got a lot of dikes and levees or anything else to control it. When it floods, it floods.
Thank you, Tom. I had a couple questions if no one else has any questions. And they are, is Deer Creek, the Deer Creek Preserve, is that near the county's landfill at Kiefer Road?
It is not. Deer Creek Hills Preserve is farther towards the foothills. So it's right behind Rancho Marietta. You basically would take Scott Road where it dead ends into Latrobe. However, Sac Valley Conservancy does hold conservation easements and do some preserve management around the most northern side of Kiefer landfill.
Do you have any relationship with them?
With
the management of Kiefer, the county's folks?
We do.
Good.
Yeah, we work cooperatively with them. Yeah.
Good. How are you guys funded?
So most of our properties have endowments. All of our conservation easements have endowments. We do, however, manage quite a few properties that do not have dedicated funding. Examples of those are Camp Pollock and Deer Creek Hills Preserve. So while we have some endowments to fund the ongoing management and maintenance of preserves, some of our preserves are funded through grazing, and properties like Camp Pollock are unfunded. So we choose to keep that open to the public at Sacramento Valley Conservancy's cost. And luckily we have generous donors and support base that help fund those costs. However, at Camp Pollock, with the loss of rentals over the last year, we are operating at a deficit.
Do you have any agreements with developers that might help you fund things? Agreements with developers?
We will enter into an agreements with developers on a case-by-case basis and a project-by-project basis, but no ongoing agreements.
That's too bad. You mentioned, I thought, and I'm just looking for not clarification, but just to tell me I'm correct, that we have the largest old growth forest in the country in the Sacramento San Joaquin Valley, or sort of the central part of the state.
Sorry, I keep losing my unmute, and I do have a little one in the background. The blue oak, specifically the blue oak woodland, so throughout all of California.
Okay, so and that's the biggest old growth forest in the country.
Correct.
That's really impressive.
Yes, that map that showed the blue ring that went around California. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's Valley Oaks, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I do
Are
have
there
one
any
last
other
question.
questions?
Yeah, I do
Oh,
have
go
one
ahead,
more
Tom.
question. The property owner conservation easements, I've heard through the grapevine that they can still sell that property if they want to.
Yes, they absolutely can. And the conservation easement runs with the land. So the benefit of a conservation easement, particularly for a family who has lived on the property for many, many years. For example, if my grandparents decided they wanted the land to be used the way that they had always used it, they could choose to put a voluntary conservation easement over the property. And then if for whatever reason the family chose to sell the land after their passing, the conservation easement and the restrictions, which are determined, can be determined in part by the landowner, would run with the property. And then the new landowner would need to abide by the same restrictions. I will say that there are, particularly in Sacramento and ag operations, for example, Swainson Hawk Conservation Easement, they can still use the land the way they had historically, as long as it's appropriate foraging habitat for that protected species. Like if it's Swainson Hawk habitat, there are many crops that are still appropriate Swainson Hawk habitat. So it can still be used as an agriculture, in ag, it can still continue to be used the way that it has always been used, but there are restrictions on it.
Okay.
And really
The
what that
reason-
involves from the Conservancy's perspective is we are basically an environmental auditor. So we go in on an annual basis, or in some cases a biannual basis, and we review photo points and we make sure the conservation values are being upheld.
Well, the reason I ask is a couple of years ago, I attended a Sacramento County Area Planning Commission meeting out in Herald. And the older farmers out there wanted to sell their property to developers. They couldn't wait. They were kind of upset that it was taking so long, in fact, because what's happening in the ag industry is either the big guys buy them out, or if they don't get bought out, the children no longer want to farm the land, work the land. They want to leave. They want to do something else. So their retirement is selling that property and selling it to the highest price, which is typically developers. So will these?
That's right. And with the
uh,
conservation easement, the restriction is that it cannot be subdivided and it cannot be developed.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom. Any other questions? Do we have any other commissioners with questions? Or Marie? In that case, Kelly, thank you so much for showing up with us tonight. We appreciate you and apologize for cutting into your family time.
No worries. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to present. And for those of you who've been cooped up, I recommend that you check back on our website if you have an interest in visiting Deer Creek Hills Preserve. Our docent guided hikes will be starting again in October, November, and Camp Pollock is actually open to the public every day of the week from sunrise to sunset. So it's a beautiful place to go visit the river, and it's always free to park. So
wonderful. Free to park is a big deal. So any other questions, comments? You're welcome to stay around and listen to our discussion of our minutes if you wish. But we'll go on now to that item on the agenda, which is item number 7, approval of the 2021 minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at them? Good. Do we have a motion? Do we have any changes that are needed? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
I move
Somebody?
to approve.
Thank you, Laura.
Nickerson,
Second?
I move to approve.
I could second it.
Okay, thanks, Eric. So we've been moved and moved and second to approve our minutes. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I think
Aye.
we need a roll call vote.
Yeah. Mhm.
That would be better. Jill, thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Richard Hunt,
Aye.
Tom Molson,
Aye.
Laura Nickerson,
Aye.
Eric Rivera Montez,
Aye.
Mark White,
Aye.
Shelby Witherby.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the future SEC meetings, whether we want to have them in person or not. Jill, you and I talked about this a little, and you had some considerations that the rest of the commission, I think, should hear about regarding recording the meetings and when we have the televised meetings. Can you recall what those?
Yeah, so if you choose to do in-person meetings for some of the meetings, you don't have the capability to do a hybrid. So it's either all in person or it's all Zoom. It's not, hybrid is not an option. And then we will always have our quarterly meetings be televised and recorded by Metro Cable. So that's just the same as always.
So what do y'all think? In person or televised? I'm sorry, or Zoomed?
I'm just curious, Jill, why would a hybrid legally be not possible?
It's not a legal issue. It's that I don't have television equipment at EMD.
Oh, okay.
Be running a camera. It'd be a whole different thing.
Can I ask what period of time we're looking at? I mean, I guess, is this for consideration for the next meeting through the end of the year, or how far Are we looking starting up in December? I guess to me, it does kind of matter. I know that there's the Delta variant is starting to spike up. And while I'm vaccinated, I know my kids aren't. And so a little bit of concern there, just trying to figure out the timing maybe a little bit better.
Just through the end of 2021.
Okay.
So I want to make a comment to Eric's comment about the Delta variant and what the state is doing, CDPH, because we're supporting public health in this pandemic emergency. Right now, if you go indoors, the recommendation is we have to wear masks. The other thing is, I remember the clerk of the board, they're going to be coming out with, I think, guidelines for boards and commissions for the chambers, but it hasn't been released yet. I know the state is going to reevaluate all their guidance in September. And if they make any changes to that, it will probably be announced maybe September, or they change it in November. So that's what CDPH has put out in the governor's office. And that's all I know right now. I did ask Dr. Casterier, are you going to do a mask mandate like Los Angeles? And she said, I would rather the state do that. She really doesn't want to put that out there. But anyway, so right now it's just recommendation.
So I guess I have a question for you and Jill. Could we start this in January 2022?
Yeah, well, depending, Marie, I'm going to defer to you on.
I think you'll have a better idea of what is going to happen. As we know, people get sick in the winter time. So then we can kind of gauge and see what's going to happen to the guidelines. Is the state going to change them? Everybody goes indoors and wear masks. Do we have to social distance again? I don't know. We'll know
but by
more
then we
after
might.
the election. I'm sorry. After maybe the election is calmed down and Governor Newsom reevaluates his group, CDPH reevaluates, the cases, what is going on in California. Do they have more people vaccinated then? That's what they're trying to work on, is more vaccinations.
What do the rest of y'all think?
I think these Zoom meetings have been pretty successful, and we've had a little more participation from the public during this time period. So I don't object to it. I think we have a chance for a more casual conversation when we're in person, but I don't think that's critical to make the meetings really go.
I tend to agree with Richard. The opportunity to have more public input or comment or participation seems to be Zoom meetings in my mind. The other comment I have on this is it sounds to me like with the Delta variant coming back, only about a little over half of the Sacramento County being vaccinated completely. It sounds like that in the school opening and the fall coming up, it sounds like there's going to be a decision point probably in the October, November period that we may want to wait and revisit it then. It doesn't sound like it's going to change much until that time anyhow.
What do you think, Shelby?
I would probably vote continuing Zoom. My workplace is still remote, and I guess it just seems like most things are still remote, so continuing it that way would make sense. But I'm also happy to come in if you all would like to as well.
And my feeling is I truly respect Eric's consideration for his children, because that's kind of where it's all at. And if we have to wait till January to not Zoom anymore, I don't see an issue with it.
I was going to say as a nurse, that's okay. My hepatologists I work with are virologists, and they're still talking caution. So it just seems to me it would be a little bit smarter on our part. We don't meet in December anyway, to just not make any changes right now, because it's worse if you're like if you're going back and forth and things are changing, and it just seems to me like it might make sense to look toward 2022.
So I kind of see heads bobbing. Oh, go ahead, Marie.
No, I agree with just what Laura said. Even the unvaccinated wear masks indoors because we can spread it. Let's say we get it, as Eric said, but it's milder, but we can still spread it to an unvaccinated person that's more vulnerable.
So how does this sound like a distillation of what we've been talking about? Edited. How about if we reconsider this at our November meeting based on the data available at that time of whether we go to January? And then I can foresee us sitting there in November saying, well, we still got some changes going to happen. So we would then push that reconsideration to January or February. Does that seem logical?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Jill, the motion was we reconsider this in November.
Got it.
Tom seconded it, right?
Yes, yes. So all in favor, say aye. Or no, Jill, can you call the roll, please?
Richard, and I.
Aye.
Tom Molson,
Aye.
Laura Nickerson,
Aye.
Eric Rivera Montez,
Aye.
Mark White,
Aye.
Bobby Weatherby.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Great. So our next item on the agenda is reporting back by the commissioners for contacts they've had with people that are in their realm. Shall we start with Richard since he's on my screen on the left?
Yeah, sure. I took a look at the Law and Legislative Committee for the City of Sacramento. They haven't been very active on matters that really concern us, but there was a discussion about some changes to ordinances on land use. And what caused me to go back and do additional research on a bill that's pending in the state legislature, SB 10. In SB 10, it would change the zoning of single-family residences within a half mile of a transit center and enable local cities and counties to ministerially upzone them to as many as 10 units per parcel. And this is obviously it's an attempt to infill and concentrate people in the current urban areas, but it also would apply to large swaths of our area of jurisdiction because it could actually apply to lands along the light rail alignments between Oak Grove all the way out to Folsom and Matonis. So I'm not sure if it's something we want to consider further, but it's I think it's going to be very controversial, and it's still pending before the Senate, but it's something that's out there that may cause attention to everybody here.
Interesting. Thank you. Laura, have you got anything? Your audio's off.
I don't have anything new, but I do think the Sac County Climate Action Plan is still open for public comment.
Tom, how about you?
Did you?
I'll go ahead. Just some real quick item here. I checked on Folsom Mountain and Galt, and Marie, you might want to check the ordinance that's being revised by the city of Folsom on their backflow program. What they're doing is basically doing away with the backflow tags completely. They're transitioning to an online database, and the revenue would be maintained by charging when the test reports are submitted online. So if you're not familiar with that, what Folsom's doing, you might want to check it out, see if it's something that maybe EMD could piggyback on. And that's all I've got.
Richard, you had something following up on the climate action plan.
Did you guys happen to see the editorial in the Sacramento Bee yesterday, where they were pretty harsh about the county board supervisors' preparation of the climate action plan and its deficiencies? I can share this with Jill. She can forward it on to you if you want to take a look at it. I printed it off
Please.
from yesterday's newspaper.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Eric, do you have anything to discuss?
Yeah, I guess only thing I just kind of wanted to update the group on is with regards to SMUD's net energy metering program. They're releasing a lot of incentives and new programs for solar plus storage. They're really pushing folks, trying to encourage people in that direction. So I don't know if there might be some interest in getting that information. Maybe at some point a presentation might be something the group would consider. But they're calling it the NEM 2.0 program. So just if the team might be interested, I could probably get somebody to present, but maybe a topic down the road.
I would be interested personally, but don't know where I'd put it. Shelby, have you got something for us?
I do. So on the waterfront in the county, one interesting action item at the most recent meeting was that there was an introduction of an ordinance which establishes a fee for the management of groundwater in Sacramento, or in the Sacramento County Groundwater Sustainability Agency, specifically for the entirety of the San Joaquin Cosumnes groundwater subbasin. And if you all are interested, there is a public hearing on July 27th. So that is next Tuesday. And a little bit of details. As described in the fee study, the initial funding will be based on actual irrigated acres within the Cosumnes subbasin, and it will cost $10 per irrigated acre. So the expected total funding requirements for the first year of groundwater management operations is about $700,000, and this fee will generate approximately $70,000. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Shelby, do you know which GSA doing this? What's the name of it? I think in Sacramento County. So it's the lower one.
That is a good fall. I believe multiple, like this will fall under multiple GSAs.
Okay.
If you can find out, Shelby, can you let her know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll let our team know.
So I had one minor, well, it's kind of a major thing actually. As you all know, we've had a requirement in the state to divert 50% of our trash. It's been ongoing for, gosh, a really long time, and we may have actually pushed it up to 75%. The actual diversion rate now is 30%. And there's some focus, according to one of the guys I talked to instead of focusing on diversion, focused on climate issues, which to me, that really is more an issue than keeping stuff out of our landfill, because the only problem with landfill capacity is sometimes it's not in the right place. You might have to ship it a ways and cost more. That's, I guess, one stilted perspective. Marie, have you got something for our director's report?
Just that we continue to support public health. Our latest, I would say, push to help assist the health officer is vaccine clinics. So we made a flyer for public health and we translated it into Spanish, one of our staff persons. We do have a meeting with their vaccine program tomorrow. So we pulled in economic development, Department of Economic Development, us, the county PIOs, the VOAD coordinator. She is the liaison to churches. Just to kind of understand, just like a coordination meeting, what is public health doing for outreach, and then what can we do to assist them, because we have the business arm, which they don't. So we have been assisting them, but how can we better target the areas that show a high number of persons, communities not vaccinated.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the commissioners? If not, the only thing we have left is our next meeting on August 16th. Same time, same place. And thank you all very much. Jill, that was a good program. Thank you. Really,
Sounds good. Yes,
really
thank you
interesting
all.
topic.
Can Alicia send her presentation?
Yes, I can.
That'd be interesting.
I particularly, honestly, I really like having the links to where we can get the data in the presentation. That doesn't always happen. And I think it's a great time saver, because if it's hard to find the data, I might not look, but I'm interested.
Mhm.
So anyway, with that, I guess it's time to say good night.
Good night.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good to
Bye.
see you all. Bye.
Yes, good to see you all.